Hello and welcome to this COP28 video. I'm joined by Rebeca Minguela, who is CEO of Clarity AI, and she's joining us from Dubai. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
What's the atmosphere like on the ground? How is everyone feeling a week into the conference?
Well, after a few days here now, a bit exhausting because it's intense. So it's non-stop meetings and people are excited and want to do too many things in these few days, but still a lot of excitement going on as well.
Okay, and I understand there's lots of big tech companies there. What role are they playing in the conversations?
Yeah, so there are a lot of big tech companies and also smaller companies like us, and our role is, of course, to push as much for technology adoption so we can accelerate the change and the transition, because so far, as we all know, we are short in we have made a lot of commitments, but we are still short in the progress, in the results that we need to achieve.
And I've heard about lots of talk about innovation and technology. What has stood out for you in terms of where we can really accelerate the transition with innovative tech?
Well, there are of course, a lot of different areas in which technology plays a big role for these transition goals. And one of them, well, the one that I can talk about the most is the one that Clarity AI, my company, plays in, which is using technology and specifically artificial intelligence to help investors and organizations and also consumers to better understand environmental impact, climate impact, and more broadly, social impact as well.
And lots of people are looking at AI now to be the shiny new thing that's really going to help our lives and maybe accelerate the transition. Are you seeing that? How is AI playing a part in the conversations at COP28?
Yeah, well, AI is a very fancy term these days. It has been for a while. Two things I will say on that. So the first one is that there are much more basic technologies that need to be implemented and adopted, even way less sophisticated than AI, and are not being adopted, even use of basic data sets in many cases by investors or reporting tools by organizations. So that would be my first message. So it doesn't need to be very sophisticated technology or AI algorithms to solve part of the problems that we need to solve. On AI specifically, of course, it helps in many areas today. One of them is, of course, in helping estimating data that is not available. As we know, we still lack data on listed companies, but also, of course, private companies in terms of the emissions, but also the sustainability data or environmental data. And AI can help do those estimations at a scale. It also helps gathering information at a scale. And it also helps reporting at a scale. As we know now, there are regulations growing, and companies and investors need to comply with those regulations that might be a bit cumbersome sometimes, and AI is going to help them comply with those regulatory requirements as well.
Yeah, and I've seen lots of focus on private companies and collaboration with and making sure they're playing their part in this transition. How is that? How are those conversations playing out on the ground? Is there willing? Is there a lot of dialogue going on, or do we need more education?
There have been several commitments from public and private institutions, also from the financial sector, around helping private companies report, track, also, of course, transition, which is the ultimate goal. But there is still a lot of work to do. The capital inflows that are needed for private markets, and especially for emerging markets, actually, I believe the estimation says that by 2030, $2 trillion of investment will be needed for climate transition in emerging markets. So the amount of capital that needs to be flowing into emerging markets, and mainly into private sector in most of cases, is in the trillions of dollars, right? So it's important that we have the right information to prioritize those investments and deploy those investments as efficient as possible.
What would you say has been your highlight from COP28 so far?
Well, every year when I come to the COP, last year I couldn't go to the one in Egypt, but I went to the one in Glasgow, COP26. It's a mix, I believe, of excitement, a bit of exhaustion, so many intense days, and at the same time, a bit of I would say, I'm not going to say disappointment, but every year we fell short. We fall short of meeting the goals, right? So, and when you go around the conference and you see all the world leaders, business, we have there everyone we need in terms of action and decisions, right? And I see a lot of commitments being done, and my impression is that after those 2 very intense weeks, maybe we are not acting with a sense of urgency that we should be acting. And I'm just going to give you a couple of numbers that I was discussing with a few people the last few days, right? Which is, we are all committing a lot of investment, but for example, in adoption of technology within the financial industry, the ESG data and analytics market is estimated to be $1 billion, right? At the same time, the financial industry is spending $220 billion in cybersecurity, $50 billion in financial data. So I wonder, why is that there is such a discrepancy given the importance of the problem, right? I'm not saying cybersecurity or the financial risk are not important topics, right? But we are talking about the entire planet here. So why is it that we are not investing faster, adopting technologies faster as well, right? So I guess it's a mix of excitement because of all the commitments, and there is progress being made, but a bit of frustration maybe, or disappointment about the speed or the lack of speed at which we are maybe trying to get to those goals or commitments.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we will have some more clarity very soon. And my last question for you is, what do you think is an action point for the investment management industry to take away from COP28?
Yeah, as I said, I think the main takeaway is that the actions for climate transition, we have to do it every day, and those adoptions, those conversations, those commitments, and most importantly, the tracking of the progress needs to happen every day, because now there is the macro environment is not very favorable, of course, and that makes companies maybe slow down on implementing certain initiatives or decreasing those efforts, right? And I guess we should not find excuses to act as it seems to happen in recently, right? But I'm an optimist, so I want to believe that we're going to keep pushing forward. We just need to act much faster.
Thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.